We are something that can improve nature in only one way. We need to tell it it's beautiful. And when we do that, we are stepping into our purpose as humans. You are a cosmic expression of divine source, energy, God itself, all of these things. You are loved.
From To Be Magnetic, this is the Expanded Podcast with your host, Lacey Phillips.
And your host, Jessica Gill.
As the leading destination for neural manifestation, we dispel the woo-woo in order to help you create real, tangible results based on neuroplasticity, psychology, epigenetics, and energetics. Our goal is to normalize the practice of manifestation and empower you to get into the driver's seat of your life in order to manifest the experiences, relationships, and things that most align with your authenticity. And by pressing play, the process begins.
Welcome back, everyone, to Expanded. Jessica here. You guys are in for a treat today. There are just some conversations where it's almost like you have to listen so many times, and each time you have a new interpretation of what the conversation was. That is pretty much any time I listen to Zach Bush talk. There is new wisdom, new takeaways, new interpretations, new understandings, just really understanding these very complex theoretical ideas and breaking them down for what feels true to me. What is this activating me? What is this awakening in me right now? And this is one of those conversations. Zach was at a huge conference when we had this podcast interview where he was just on stage with some of the biggest world movers and shakers to talk about what is going on with our planet and climate and how can we really move things and change things and turn things around in a different way. And he jumped out to have this podcast interview. So if the tech is a little glitchy, we do apologize, but we are so thankful that he just gave this amazing keynote at this speaking event and then popped into the podcast with us, bringing all of that amazing energy. I think this is the perfect conversation to get into our money challenge, because this is where the rubber meets the road, where the material meets the spiritual. This is where you can really feel abundance as something more than a material value. Yes, it is definitely something we need in this lifetime as humans on this planet, all of those things, 100%. And when we can connect with the consciousness of something beyond that, of something that's more harmonious and cyclical and deep and wise and rooted than we even think we are, I really, truly believe that is where we are held with abundance, and the monetary things come in from there. That is the new paradigm that we're entering into. If you guys don't know, we have our big money challenge kicking off on June 2nd. Our sale is kicking off on May 27th, this upcoming Tuesday, but we have a surprise discount code for listeners only. So this is a little early bird discount. If you want to get 27% off our Pathway membership, if you've been thinking about becoming a Pathway member, if you've wanted to do any of our challenges, if you want to do this money challenge where we're really transforming our relationship with money on a subconscious level to get to the next level of abundance, of authentic abundance, utilize this code. It's early bird, all caps. You can check out the links in the show notes for 27% off. You will only have this for this weekend only, and then you'll jump into the full sale on Tuesday. And then we are kicking off the challenge on June 2nd. With our pre-week, we have a live call for everyone. We're opening up to the public on how to manifest money in 2025 with Lacey and I, where we're really kicking us off into understanding what our authentic abundance means to us and how to manifest money and abundance and alignment and freedom in this time, in this era. So join us for that live call. That will be on June 4th at 10:30 a.m. PST. If you can't make that time, we'll send you the recording. You can check the link in the show notes to RSVP for that as well. I just am energetically holding this space for all of you in this convo because I feel this so deeply right now with this community, just connecting with you guys, reading DMs, reading everything that's going on. I feel the momentum and the precipice of a massive up level for us as a community together, holding our hands through this. We have our big TBM Global Community Walk on the 31st. So next weekend. And I can't wait to see you guys in person. If you're in LA, you can RSVP. Again, link in the show notes. If you have one in your city, you can check out our magnetic meetup map to see other people that are hosting. But I don't know if you guys can feel it, but I really feel it. No matter where everyone is at, I feel like let's just lift each other up. Let's hold hands and let's get to this next level together. It's going to be so, so huge. And I'm just so excited and honored to do it alongside all of you. It's just so funny because earlier this year, I had this one vision where it was like me and a bunch of people and women and men and children, all these things, like locked arms like this. And it was like a power stance. We were all in this power stance, like locked together, connected. And it's just now coming into perspective that that is kind of what this step into this challenge feels like. It's like, no, we all have each other's back. Let's make sure they can meet their needs and they're living from their truth. They're living from their heart. They're creating the life they want. And in that energy, we're going to help transform the world and make the most positive impact we can from that place. Yeah, it's just so wild thinking that that was that vision I had and I wrote it down. I was like, I don't really know how this is going to like practically land. And then now here we are. And it feels like this is one moment where this is going to help catapult that into reality. There'll be many more locked hand moments, but this is one where I feel like very connected to the community in a big way. And yeah, the universe is just like, let's go. So come join us for the money challenge with To Be Magnetic. I'm so excited to have you guys. It's going to be a good one.
And now a word from our partners.
You know when your gut just feels off? For me, it used to show up as that heavy, sluggish feeling that would throw off my whole day. A few years ago, I started taking Seed's DS-01 Daily Symbiotic, and the shift in my digestion and regularity has been one of those small things that have quietly changed everything. These days, my morning routine is 2 capsules with a little lemon water. It's so simple, but it sets the tone for the rest of my day. And what I love about Seed is that it's not just another probiotic. DS-01's Daily Symbiotic is a pre- and probiotic formulated with 24 clinically and scientifically studied strains that support gut health, skin health, heart health, immune health, and more. It's the capsule that actually gets the probiotic where they need to go, unlike so many probiotics on the market. If you've been looking for a way to support your gut, this is the one I always recommend. Use code 25magnetic, all caps, MAGNETIC at checkout for 25% off your first order of Seed's DS-01 Daily Symbiotic at seed.com/TBM. That's 25% off your first month with code 25magnetic at seed.com/TBM, or check the link in the show notes.
All right, on to the episode.
We're so excited to have you back on. You've been on Expanded. This will be the 3rd time, first 2 with Lacey. I'm so excited to get to talk to you finally on here. But I kind of wanted to start today's discussion with really checking in with what's on your heart, what's on your soul, with what's going on in the climate, in the world, in this sort of shedding everything down to rebuild phase. It feels even more palpable this year. A lot of people predict over the next 2 years, it's going to get more intense. And it's really this sort of culmination of change. How are you seeing that from our connection to land in a spiritual sense? Anything that's just coming through for you right now?
Yeah, the exciting thing about change is humans are terrible at predicting where it goes. And we're really good at scaling in our imagination what's already occurred. And so we can create an idea and scale that to a multi-billion-dollar company. It makes total sense. And we can believe that any startup company can become a billion-dollar company. Like, we have this optimism about that. We also have an optimism about the fact that we can fall in love and we'll be together forever and we'll have a family and we'll build homes. Like, optimism scales enormously well in the human mind. What we're very bad at is scaling the unintended consequences of our behaviors. And where we tend to get ourselves down these very, very long trajectories of unintended consequences that are being caused by things that seem really good. And so then there's nowhere more clear than the food system than to probably do that. Like the idea of feeding the world was such a great idea in the 20th century. So 1940s and 50s, we come out of World War II and it's like, okay, we got poverty all over. Everybody's recovering from war. Let's feed the world. Let's rev up the Midwest as the breadbasket of the world. And what we unintentionally did, perhaps, was to set a highway to poisoning the entire planet. And we did that at the soil system level, at the water system level, through chemical agriculture. And there was lots of reasons why we did it, and it wasn't bad things. So we completely lost in multiple generations of workforce on farms globally. They all were told, like, now there's all these new opportunities. Technologies are new frontier. It's not going to be food systems and agriculture and commodities. It's going to be technology. And we're going to build this whole new virtual reality of humanity that will run on email and social media. And we're going to do all this cool stuff. And kids should go into marketing and IT and tech because that's where all the money's at. And we all left not only the farm, we left our homes, and we really uproot culture deeply in the 1950s. And that's left us in a state of really a rootless society that now is true for nearly every continent and nearly every country in the world. And so even our developing countries are quickly grafted into these global economies that will never return wellness or wealth to the vast majority of workers. And in that grafting, we take them out of their soil system. We take them out of the soil of their family, out of the soil of their culture, out of the soil of their spiritual worldviews. And we plug them into one world religion of money and, this active generation towards productivity as the main measure of human success. And so now we have a $100 trillion global GDP every year. And the United States is 25% of that entire GDP of 190 countries. Like, it's an insane situation we've walked into. And I think it's a series of unintended consequences that date back thousands of years that have now accelerated, and technology has been that rocket fuel on that transition. So we find ourselves at this moment where we are pushing ourselves to the brink of extinction. And as a hospice physician, it was always an extraordinary experience to watch somebody diagnosed with that terminal condition. You've got 3 weeks left to live. You got 3 months left to live. You're sitting at the bedside. Family is weeping. The individual is usually kind of in stunned silence, sometimes in tears. And you're sitting through this process. And then over the next couple of days, that person really comes to life. And you get to see this person remembering their entire life and realize it was freaking perfect. Like, everything's been perfect. And instead of running around and trying to tell everybody how much they love, they start to really pay attention to the details. And suddenly time slows down for them. And I think for a lot of us, we will live more years of experience in the last few months of our life than we did in the previous 50, 70, 80, 120 years, whatever we're allowed to live, because we slowed down and because we allowed the doingness of the human mind and the human heart to settle down. And then suddenly space occurs. You get this spaciousness of time. You get the spaciousness of observation and witnessing the beauty. You get the spaciousness of all of the different levels that occur. So we are at this global hospice moment where we have been given a terminal condition. We have a negative birth rate, which means we're on an extinction of every single people group, every single country in the world, with the exception of a few in the Central Africa and India. Outside of those two spots of the world, everybody is already on an extinction path. We already went below 2.1 hour birth rates. We're already going to diminish very rapidly over the next 100 years. Countries like Japan will be some of the first to disappear with their peoples. There could be 30 million empty residences in Tokyo by 2035. And so we're right at this precipice of our hospice moment. And we did that by diminishing the light energy in biology through chemical agriculture, food systems, water systems, pharmaceuticals, and the rest. And so we have been diminishing the amount of light and metabolic life force within all living systems globally over the last 100 years. Really, for the last couple of thousand, we've been marching towards it. And then it just, went exponential over the last 100 years. And that acceleration shows no signs of slowing down. And so we got ourselves, through our failure of understanding the scaling of unintended consequences and all of that, into the boiling water. And now suddenly all the scientists of the world, the doctors of the world, the economies of the world are all like, well, we played that out. We've got ecosystems collapsing. We got all this bad news. We're going to be out of Medicare, Medicaid funding, and we'll be out of our social securities by 2032. And so the country's going extinct in our economies that we've trusted for so long. We're just going to keep growing. And that was always the plan. It was basically a Ponzi scheme of like, well, we know we're getting into trouble, but we're going to make so much more money next year, we're going to be able to pay for that trouble. And we kept thinking that, we kept turning biologic crisis into a monetary equation. Biology is failing, no problem, we have more money. And it turns out that no human cells actually ever run off of that form of energy. And so that's our next chapter, is this exciting moment of hospice where we all get to sit still for a moment and look around and be like, oh my God, there's so much beauty already here. We don't have to go create the new world. We don't have to go dream of how we're going to save the planet. We just need to start to see every single space as sacred, which is what happens for every hospice patient. The tray in front of them in those last few breaths when they're staring at their last cup of tea, and then they will slip into a restful or agitated state of unconsciousness for a period of time, and then they'll take their last 500 breaths over the course of a few hours, and then they will let go of a body. That moment with that last cup of tea is what we're at right now, and the question is, are we going to decide to stay? Because if we decide to stay and we decide that we are willing to stay that slow, really allow nature to catch up and show us the path forward, and then trust the nature within us and around us to lead the path forward, we'll find out that the whole new world that we were dreaming of and maybe even thought we were already living in has been awaiting our arrival. And we can step into that future. And the planet is not in crisis. The planet is in rebirth. That is a much different thing than crisis. Humans are doing great damage everywhere. And if we stop for a moment and reframe our relationship to nature, every single industry becomes part of the solution.
So kind of how you said, there's not this, okay, we need to go figure out what the new earth is, or we need to go fix the problem that we've started. It's really about how can we reset in the moment now, how we've been thinking about relating to, seeing ourselves in the connection to nature, to the planet, to each other, that interconnectedness of everything. And in doing that, that is the hope. When we have that remembrance, then each individual and each sector, country, or whatever can come back to, okay, what is their part and change? Because it sounds like the change is going to happen, not fixing the old, but like you're saying, rebirthing a whole new way of what that looks like.
That's exactly right. And that takes a lot of discipline and trust in something that's not us. And what I mean by that is it's not our collective human hive mind. What we have to trust is the nature that's inside every single individual. And so that's what I've done in a small way with my clinic. We closed my clinic realizing that every patient coming in with an identity of being a patient was being disempowered to the fact that the only place that health is going to come from is inside of their body. There's no drug that any drug company's ever made that's going to, manifest health in their body. That's not how drugs work. It's not how nature works. Nature has sovereignty at every single atomic level, a single atom to a single molecule to a single cell to a single organism. There's sovereignty at every level, and nature has built in all of the systems for self-care and nourishment at every single level long before a human mind showed up. We're going to have to learn that math really quickly and realize everybody is ready to be nourished by the nature in and around them. So how do we bring ourselves as a system, as a society, into alignment?
What practices do you have in that connection to nature? You're calling right now from Costa Rica. You're immersed in nature behind you, even as we're having this recording. But I'm someone who really values, you had a video on sunsets, how we're the only species that really takes in the sunset. I am the sunset's biggest fan. That is the joy of my day, getting to see the sunset. Is it in those little moments? Because what I've found is in the sunset, it's not just the act of doing the sunset or watching the sunset. When you can sit and truly be present to the wonder and beauty that is the planet and what it's doing, you realize how much more intelligent it is than anything that we can kind of put on it. And at the same time, it feels like you're getting, this sounds maybe crazy, but it feels like you're getting all of this wisdom just by watching it, but you can't really put it quite into words. Is that sort of your experience with it? And what are those moments that you have with nature?
Yeah, in some ways, my nature started at the microscopic level. I mean, early back in my childhood, it was all big macro nature because I grew up a poor kid in Boulder, which is like the best thing that could ever happen to anybody. When you grow up in low income housing, when you're in Section 8 housing, government housing, like the infrastructure that you're being asked to live in is very difficult for your parents and it's difficult for your neighbors. And the space is tiny. And so the only, obvious thing is everybody should be outside all the time. So you don't spend much time at home when you're in a small cinder block box. And when your backdrop is in the Colorado Rockies, you are in freaking heaven. So I spent an enormous amount of time. My mother was like such a fantastic adventurer, remains that today. She's just like the penultimate, show me the top of the mountain, I'm going to get there and hell or high water. And all of her children have a lot of stories of PTSD of being in cross-country skis, stuck underneath a pine tree, wanting to give up and crying. And Mom, I can't make it. I'm so tired. I can't even stand up. I can't go. And she's always like, it's just over the next rise. The top is just, you won't believe how beautiful it is. It was never over the next rise. And so we were always like, always like this death march to the top. And it was always so beautiful at the top. And so she taught us something about the journey is so valuable because you will see beauty along the way. And at the top of that journey, you will see something of nature that will blow your minds. And so she gave us all a deep love of nature and our sense of adventure there. And, my dad was super supportive too, helped us through Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts and all the things. And so immersed in nature as a child. And that's super important. We ate out of the gardens all the time. My mother's an incredible gardener to this day. Her 7 acres of gardens is more like a farm. Epic way to grow up. And again, we learned that because there was not money to go to the restaurants. There wasn't money. So, poverty or necessity is the mother of all invention. But I'd also say it's the most common path back to nature. In my clinic, I taught a lot of nature integration and food science and integrating, natural foods, whole foods back into the diet, which is really challenging in most environments today. And the people that were the worst at it were my fancy CEOs flying in from someplace to go to this fancy, situation. Then they get there and it's like, wait, this isn't a fancy situation. And this kid's like teaching science and nutrition in a plumbing building in rural Virginia. And they were always so disappointed until they started to see and learn from the people that were around us in the clinic who were salt of the earth, living off the land, 5th generation poverty, integrated with family still, remembered how to grow a garden because their great grandmother had fed them out of their garden. And so it didn't take much to help somebody who was 1 generation separated from nature versus the 5 generation, 10, 30 generation family that's been running the whole colonial machine of scarcity for the name of wealth, telling them that nature provides for them. Now you're on a very, very long psychic journey back to nature. And that's where I think the plant medicines have ultimately stepped in of like, it's too long. You guys don't have a long enough path to like help the colonial mind back to nature. And so we're going to bring nature to you and we're going to blow apart your freaking mind. And so I was just on stage with a bunch of people here in Costa Rica at an event here that's bringing together people that are from all over, all walks of life, but all of them were very successful in their businesses. And so you got people who are millionaires, billionaires, whatever the numbers, and they're all coming together to ask the bigger question of like, how do we reintegrate fast enough? Because they're all seeing that economically everything's collapsing and from everything they thought they were building was a false reality. And so you got people at the top of this economic mountain realizing that it wasn't a mountain, it was a house of cards and it's actively falling. And they're like, all right, how do we take all of our skills instead of being in fear about this? Maybe this is the best thing that's ever happened to us. And how do we take all of our skills that we learned in building and turn that around? And the answer is observation. They actually got good at what they did by seeing patterns, but they were looking at an artificial reality. And when they turn their eyes back to nature, they can use their same powers of pattern recognition to see a different pathway of wealth, a different pathway of revaluing our productivity in the context of natural systems and our integration there. And so what it comes down to ultimately was, years of me looking under a microscope to witness beauty before I witnessed the disease. And it took me years of that. For years, all I could see under the microscope was the cancer cell I was studying. And I spent so much time looking at cancer cells and inflamed cells and senescent cells, and all of this stuff was so in my face because that was what I was told was my value as a scientist, was to figure out the disease. Our microscopy started getting better and better in the 1990s and 2000s. We got to the point where I was looking at a microscope, seeing things that looked like galaxies, like just freaking massive sacred geometries under the microscope that were swirling and spinning. We were starting to be able to film cells in their living state under microscopes. And what was happening just defied all of the things that we had believed when we were fixing and staining and killing cells to look at their dead version of themselves. When you see cells that are living, you are so overwhelmed by the miracle of life that a single cell can exhibit that much intelligence with being, 25% of the circumference of a human hair. And yet it has a universe inside of it that is integrating so much quantum information with the relativity of the cosmos. And so the unifying field theory between relativity and quantum physics, I strongly believe, I'm saying all the time, everywhere I can, it's life. That's how you get relativity play in the quantum physics realm. And all of the mathematicians are out there looking for an equation, and it's a living thing, not something that's going to be written down on a page. The way that relativity interacts with quantum physics, relativity is all the physics that happens in the grand scales of the universe. Quantum physics is what governs the invisible realm of the tiny stuff. Sitting dead center of that mathematically is humans. And that was proven out in 2010. We are the mathematical center of everything in the universe, meaning I believe we are the unifying field theory. We are the mathematical event that combines the realism of quantum physics with the surrealism of relativity. And both of those worlds have their own weird etheric state where nothing's real. Nothing's real at the cosmos, nothing's real at the tiny state, and yet everything is here material in this in-between state, this dead center of the mathematics of the universe. There's a materialization of a three-dimensional, four-dimensional reality that is trying to figure out how to increase its frequency, trying to increase its vibrational reality so it can stay in play as the universe continues to morph through its many, many different iterations.
I mean, wow. So what do you think the purpose then? So if we are those projections of material matters between the two, is it that they're just there to raise the frequency to continue on the evolution of the entire solar system, every galaxy, every planet?
Yeah, that's pretty much, I think, what I've learned from nature is she is a system of stacking functions or stacking mathematics. And so from the beginning of time, we can see this stacking of geometry within vacuum space that eventually is able to unlock the ability to store more energy per cubic centimeter. And it does that long enough in the physics level to be able to create the first cell membrane, the first chemical reaction that would allow for the building blocks of life to happen. And the moment that those building blocks self-assemble through a process of basically, again, stacking geometry, so everything is architected on sacred geometry, whether you're a single atom or you're a galaxy or you're a quasar or your entire universe. It's all very strictly held within these sacred geometries. And the reason I call it sacred is both because I'm in awe and marvel at the miraculous nature of it, and that it's been depicted in every single spiritual sacred practice, religion, and text that you've ever seen. This information has been stored there for you. Every religion, I believe, was a mechanism for helping us through the dark ages of our human beingness, to this point where we become human witness. And that's really all the cosmos is waiting for. It's for us to witness the beauty within it so that the stacking geometries can continue on the ascension path. What we know in physics is something has to be observed before it really becomes its full particle fruition. It will stay in a photon waveform until it is fully observed. And so I believe that we are here to witness very complex geometries within space, within the molecular structure of cells. And so we have been endowed with enough intelligence and enough collaboration with other intelligences in the universe to gain insight into what is cellular structure, what is atomic structure, what is cosmic structure, what is the structure of the universe. We have, in the last few decades, worked through all of that science. And what we are finding at the core of that is, oh my gosh, what we are seeing is all of the geometries that were handed to us in our religions and in our, spiritual texts. And so sacred geometry is the fabric of the universe. It is sacred because it is the pathway in which life and the potential for life gets to its highest state of vibration. And so the earth to heaven framework that we've been given in our religious constructs is actually in some ways quite literal, is that we are stacking geometries until we can get life to start to elevate through these different realities between our current three-dimensional sensed reality that the human brain is seeing, than the 4D, 5D, 7D, 17-dimensional realities that we can feel inside of our bodies. Our bodies are way better at feeling than we have been trained into. We are been trained into a very low vibrational state of awareness and witnessing. Therefore, we are going extinct, as the universe has to go through ascension pathways. Everything has to get more and more beautiful, more intelligent all of the time. That's not to say there's sudden collapses, but the collapses are always because something came out of alignment with that ascension path. So it must collapse, become the compost, but the thing that will now spring out of the soil. That regeneration for more and more complexity, more and more intelligence is something that is literally baked into our DNA. Our DNA is constantly updating and constantly transforming. My bloodstream right now has about 10 billion unique viruses in it, 10 billion new genetic sequences that my body is scanning. So I have roughly 70 trillion human cells. Those are fueled by about 14 quadrillion mitochondria. The mitochondria and the human cell are both scanning for new genetic sequences that will improve the energy per cubic centimeter, improve resilience, regeneration, life force. And so I am scanning the entire library of potential genes that have never been expressed yet as a protein, and I'm looking for that gain of function. So is every plant. So is every single bacterium in the soil. So is the organisms of the ocean. Everything is in a gain of function acceleration of maybe I could do that, maybe I could do that. And so it's this driving curiosity that's built into the fabric by which life occurs that we continue to emerge with higher intelligence. And when I say intelligence, it's the capacity to witness. Intelligence is not memorization. We have to get rid of our education systems and go entirely to experiential learning if we plan to be human. If we're just going to do education systems and memorize what the British colonies want us to memorize, then we're going to be robots. AI will take over the entire human experience because we never superseded being a computer, being a robot. If you start to sense the realities around you beyond your five senses, and then if you sit still enough so that nature can start to stack the functions inside of you because it's observing you because you're finally still. And you can experience this. You will just go lay down under a tree this morning, go outside, lay down under a tree, look at the sky through the fractal patterns that are in between the branches and the leaves and the sky behind it. Stare at the sky, stare at that. You can look at the tree for a moment, then look through the tree and stare at the sky. Make sure your focal point is there. Once you get really comfortable with the sky, then come back to the tree, look at the tree, and invite the tree to see you. And then go back to the sky. And so you're now meditating on the sky while you are witnessed by the tree. The tree is going to be the sensor to your crystallization of a more complex geometry. Everything is going through the up-levelings of geometry, but it has to be witnessed. And if the human creates an abstract reality around it, separated by our five senses, our egos, our psychosocials, everything else, we, I think, are actually quite invisible to nature, and we rush through nature without interacting with it, so we are barely felt. And so we must go extinct. If you will allow yourself to be felt by nature, we know we've done all the EEG experiments, some plants and everything else. You up-level plant force, life force within a tree when you sit there and witness it and say, you are beautiful. If you say you are beautiful to a plant, it just freaks out with excitement. All of the neurology of the plant wakes up. It starts doing crazy good things. It grows new root systems, increases all of its growth factors, more chlorophyll, more light energy, because it got seen and told it was beautiful. If you witness it dully and just are like, that's a tree, and you give it no positive feedback, it doesn't get the same result. That's a pretty big freaking trip, is that we are something that can improve nature in only one way. We need to tell it it's beautiful. And when we do that, we are stepping into our purpose as humans.
Wow. I'm like so excited to go out in nature right now. So we have a 2-year-old mini Labradoodle at home named Theo. He's the best. And over the years, he became a bit of a picky eater. He would eat anything when he was a puppy, but as he got a little bit older, he started to kind of poo-poo some of his food. And we really had to trial and error different types of food to see what would get him to eat consistently, which is also hard because we want to make sure to give him the cleanest, most human grade, sustainable, non-synthetic food out there. And when I stumbled upon Sundays for Dogs, I'm telling you, it was like the perfect dog food to come in at the perfect time. Not only is Theo obsessed with it and gets so excited to eat it every single time we put it in his bowl, but it is human grade, all natural meats and superfood, 0% synthetic, no artificial ingredients, and has been so good for his health and digestion. There's no thawing or refrigeration. It is all an air drying process, so you can just pour and serve. And the best thing is they're on subscription. So no running out to the pet store every couple days or every couple weeks to get new food. You just get it delivered directly to your door, and you can pause your subscription anytime if you need. You can get 40% off your first order of Sundays by going to sundaysfordogs.com/TBM or use code TBM all caps at checkout. Again, that's TBM all caps at checkout for 40% off your first order of Sundays. Enjoy. What do you think the witnessing is? Because I've heard some theories where in the witnessing, that's when infinite realities open up. Something about it being witnessed allows it to expand upon literal infinite realities. Is that what it's kind of getting to in the witnessing? What is turning on? Is it connection? Is it remembrance of self? If we can witness the tree, then the tree can remember its glory, its beauty, and then it can pull every resource it can and then extensively have a quantum leap of growth or this or that. What is it in the witnessing?
Basically, you're going to manifest the reality in front of you that you're willing to witness. And so if you're going to run around and decide that what the reality that human eyes sees is the whole reality, you'll see some beauty. You will. If you decide that the world really revolves around your next meal and how delicious it is, you're going to put together a great Epicurean adventure of your life. You'll go find the next great meal, the next great meal, the next great meal. But if you get to the point where you're just addicted to the next experience and you're not present with the current experience, you're not going to actually have that reality for long. And that's where I think most of us are as humans. Those of us that love food, the food nourishes us right up until we start thinking about the next meal rather than experiencing the meal that we're in right now. We have to witness what's happening right now. And that's where we are most of all failing. We are witnessing our ideas about the future. I spent 50 years chasing the horizon, and it wasn't good for me. It wasn't good for my family. It wasn't good for my marriages. It wasn't good for anything. I was chasing something that was not real yet. And therefore, it could never really come to be. And so what you're talking about, unlocking infinite realities through witnessing, really means become present. And when you get good at presence, you'll find out that you feel so much more than just the seen world. And that's why I want the tree to witness you, because if you will do that, you're going to start to realize, wait a second, I can feel that tree in my belly. I'm no longer trying to look at it. I'm feeling it in my belly. Well, is that really happening right now? Is that tree actually telepathically communicating with my vibrational core? And then you sit there until you're like, no, that's really happening. Actually, I can feel a difference when I make myself available to the tree, to when I say that the tree can't talk to me. And when I shut that door and say nothing, nature, go feel it in your body. That subtle mind shift of nature's not taking care of me. I'm not part of nature. Literally puts up the shield, and nature can't feel you and you can't feel nature. What if the rose had created all of the beauty of its scent so that it could course through your bloodstream? What if the rose is trying to go on a path of ascension from plant to animal and hopefully to human? Because no other animal sits there and grows roses and hybridizes them and everything else because we're so overwhelmed by the beauty of a rose, the beautiful look, the feel, the sensation of the petals on your skin, and then you smell it. And it's just like, this thing is just intoxicating on every one of the 5 senses. But what about the 7 deeper senses? What is the rose actually leading you to? And if you start asking that question, sitting with that, then you're going to find an archetypal geometry in space that a lot of people have come to call Mary Magdalene. Mary Magdalene is an archetype of the witness. The only perfect witness that we've had, I think, to humans was this lineage of women that were trained in this pathway that dates back as far as the temples of Isis and then to the temples of Magdalene and Israel. And going forward in time, there's been these temples built over time that were the practice of witnessing beauty. Magdalene was given to us as a prostitute, said that this was a prostitute, and she's kind of demonized in the scriptures and all kinds of stories. She's actually not demonized at all in scripture. It's the people that talk about the scriptures that somehow created this other story. But read Mary Magdalene's gospel. She has one of the Gnostic gospels that was discovered in the Dead Sea Scrolls, everything else. It's the most censored document in the world. And I think that's why we can't move forward, is because we don't know what the first 4 pages or the middle 6 pages of her gospel say, because every single copy ever found that date back thousands of years had those 10 pages removed. There was something in her story that was the whole essence of being human, and we have been kept from our own power of being human because she was the ultimate witness. And she witnessed something in the Christ story in Yeshua or something else that transformed biology, but she did not do that alone, because there was another archetype sitting there, which was the memory. There are 2 archetypes in nature that must be anchored into if we are going to find the infinite possibilities that you're referring to. And that is the archetype of the mother and the archetype of the lover. The archetype of the mother is the remembrance of the feminine. That happens in water structure. So it sounds like I maybe suddenly took you on a hard left turn into Judeo-Christian matrix and everything else, but I'm telling you that that's only our most recent iteration of those stories that have been remembered for the last 2,000 years. For the thousands of years before that, it was Isis and Horus, not Mother Mary and Christ. Mother Mary and Christ was another iteration of Isis and Horus, which was the mother and the son. The mother and the son is the story that we need to get back to now. The only way we escape our extinction is we have to remember what our DNA looked like before our separation from nature. And it's this great abandonment disorder that we're suffering from all the unintended consequences of that separation. And it's because mental, biologic, the whole thing. There is something in nature, namely the water within human cells, that is remembered. And so there is a mathematical construct that you could call a soul, if you will. There's a complex being in the universe that is witnessing the remembrance of where it all came from. It does not care what the journey has been. It's paying no attention to where you've gotten to or what you've been through as a species or anything else. There's a remembrance at the water level. Nature, the reason why we call nature mother is because it is the thing that remembers. The mother is the thing that remembers the original design, so that when death occurs, the rebirth is complete and has an opportunity to become something it's never done. To do the thing that's never been done, you have to move past the memory of the mother, and you have to move to what I would call the lover. The lover is the thing that comes into your life to witness who you have become and love you right now, regardless of where you came from and the traumas you came through and all of that. And in our current Judeo-Christian world, that only happened once. That an individual is both remembered for its original design and loved for exactly what it became without any judgment on that being. That took generations of training through that maternal line to achieve that. Mother Mary was an Essene. The Essenes were a very, very carefully trained sect within the ancient Judaism that's now often referred to as Kabbalah or the Kabbalah. And the Kabbalah is the sciences and the mathematics and the philosophies that predated Jewish history. And so this is something that dates back before the wound, before we got separated from nature. And what was practiced was these women and men in the Essene tribes were trained into these high states of consciousness, high meditation states, high vibrational states. And they worked magic. They could work miracles. It was very well documented that they were the ones that people turned to when absolute miracles were needed. So this was the mother. And so the mother was trained in the high state of not just remembering her son's original design, but originally the original design. And so what was being passed down through that line was the remembrance of the original design before the wound that had happened thousands of years before. Then comes along the perfect lover, meaning the perfect witness. And a Mary Magdalene comes in as a story, but if you go do Isis and Horus and all the other ones, there's always the other witness. There's always another witness that comes in to make the magic happen. And I believe that's what we have to become for one another. And stop trying to go into single relationships with one other person and realize that nature has never done a binary relationship. Everything's in quaternary structures. Everything is not 3-dimensional, it's 4-dimensional, 5-dimensional, 6-dimensional. We need our relationships to start to be able to triangulate the reality that we are living in. Are you willing to be witnessed by the mother, which might be your mom, but more likely it is the nature around you? your mom, if she's in a scene type woman who has done such deep meditation that she's found the original design of humankind, which a lot of mothers are waking up to. So that's possible. But if not, then just turn to the nature itself. This planet is your mother, and it is the proverbial mother. And every single thing that's ever happened in this 4 billion year history or whatever it's been to this planet has been stored in its water structure. Everything is remembered here. The mother remembers freaking everything. So be witnessed by the mother. Go out under the tree and then lay down in a river and let the river remind you how loved your original design is and what was intended there. And then find the lover. And that for me began at the trees. I was so confused about human relationship. I was so heartbroken over my first marriage and then second marriage. And I just, every time I tried to love and you love more, it seemed to always backfire somehow until you get out of the mindset of the success of the thing is to hold on to each other and own each other. When you realize the purpose of relationship is to grow with each other and allow the other to grow further by your witnessing of the person, then I realized my two marriages were raging success. We had so much witnessing of each other. We became who we became because we witnessed each other for so long, so consistently with respect. And we did not hurt each other. We had great reverence for each other. And we really made the effort to always communicate what we were experiencing the best we could. And we were, in both cases, we were kids. If I ever get into another relationship, I'll be a kid again. Like, I don't know what the freak is going on in our little human mind trying to, struggle with the concept of love with the cosmos. If we start to really get into these constellations rather than relationships, we might move to this point of absolute regeneration of the original design of humans and move into this much more complicated, much more beautiful version of ourselves. But you are going to have to find your mother in nature. And then you can go ahead and start adding humans into that equation as you get more and more stable because you've been seen by the original design. You've been remembered by nature. The first experience I had with this was actually white lions in Africa. And I went into this deep telepathic night with these two white lions in the bush of South Africa. And they just kept telling me, we remember you, we remember you, we remember you. And they told me that so many times. They showed me so many previous iterations of my soul and myself and the planet until I finally just accepted it. And it was one of the most powerful things that I accepted, that I was remembered by a planet, because I had been walking around here feeling like an alien. I didn't feel like I belonged. I didn't feel like I belonged to people or cliques, or felt like an outcast from age 3 onward. I didn't fit in preschool. I didn't fit in any school. I didn't fit in anywhere. So I had this story going on. I didn't belong until the lions showed me that you have belonged here so long. You are so loved by this mother. You can't believe how much is remembered about you. It is all here. It is all recorded. It is all recorded. It is all recorded. You are remembered. You are remembered. You are remembered. And that allowed me to slow the freak down and stop running for some future that I thought I was looking for to feel accepted or feel home. This is my home. I am made of this earth. I do have a mother, and she is a glorious planet that floats in the space-time at the center of a chakra of the universe that we would call the heart chakra. And if I sit and I really get into my space and I allow the mother to witness me, and then I allow all of the lovers to see me, every tree, every plant, and then I allow the humans to come into that equation such that every human that I come in touch with today, I consider my lover. Can I see who you are right now with no care of where you've been or no care of where you're going, and just see the beauty you are right now? It has made my dinners so rich. And every time I get on stage now, I am looking at 1,000 faces out there that are just so freaking perfect right now. It is so beautiful to see the intent and the heart of groups of people yearning for this next level of experience, this next level of drop in with nature. And we're right on it. And we're going to do this together. I know it's going to happen. And it might be in our last freaking breath of our last biology. But the Course in Miracles says something marvelous. The last thing that I will do in this human body is let go of judgment. And then I'll have that new human body. And so that's the promise that I read into that Course in Miracles, is we can all have the new body that will be resilient and regenerate beyond all the toxicity we've put into ourselves, emotional toxicity, chemical toxicity, physical toxicity, psychological toxicity. All of it will disappear in a moment where we travel at the speed of forgiveness. But to get there, we're going to have to say, I'm sorry. And I'm sorry to myself first. And that's where we're going to start this massive reformation of the human biology, the human behaviors, the human existence. And the only thing that will go extinct in us will be our inhumanity ultimately.
You've heard us talk about our Pathway membership, but what actually is it? It is an all-access membership where you can get every single workshop that we've ever created, all of our deep imaginings, which are our reprogramming audios, to help you manifest. You can access it on the desktop or in the TBM app on your phone directly. We, of course, have our foundational workshops, such as our How to Manifest workshop, which takes you step by step through this neural manifestation process to actually unblock, expand, and take aligned action to connect with your manifestations. Our How to Be Magnetic workshop, our Inner Child and Shadow workshops. And then, of course, we have a workshop if you are in a rut, if you're in a rock bottom, if you're in an up level, perhaps you need to set boundaries. Maybe you want to focus specifically on the block of money or love. It is all in there. And then twice a year as a community, we gather for our challenges. Our challenges are one of the most effective parts of the process because you get accountability. It is really a handheld experience in how to work through whatever the theme of that year's challenge is. And now to my absolute favorite part of our membership, which I think in and of itself would be worth the entire weight of the membership if we just had this alone, our Deep Imagining library. This library encompasses over 60 neural reprogramming audio tracks. They're self-hypnosis tracks that will really support you in any step of this journey. If you're needing calming, nervous system regulation, unblocking with a specific test or trigger, going through a difficult time, processing a big emotion, or maybe you just want reinforcing, how to reinforce those neural pathways of confidence, abundance, self-worth, deservingness, and connection with your dream life. And not only that, if you go to the app, we just launched Deep Imagining playlists where we're grouping different themes of DIs together. So no matter what you're going through, you have something for you. And we're constantly dropping new playlists as well as brand new Deep Imaginings. And if you need more support in your process, you can go to our brand new video series, Channelings with Lacey, where she touches on the exact energetics that are going on right now in manifestation and how it may apply to your life. So obviously, I am a huge fan of this membership. The peace of mind I get from being able to have all the tools I need at my disposal, no matter where I'm at with my life, if shit's hitting the fan, if I'm feeling dysregulated, if I'm needing to come back to my center, if I'm needing to brainstorm or daydream or connect with what my vision for my future is, every single tool is in there to support me. And don't just take my word for it. We have thousands of testimonials of people who have had incredible success stories with these tools. So take the guesswork out of your manifestation process and get real tools that are going to give you real results. For podcast listeners only, you can use code EXPANDED, all caps EXPANDED, for 20% off your first month of the pathway. Join now and have your best year yet. You can feel it happening. You can feel the shift subtly. So many people feel this void energy right now because we don't know what it looks like. It's so unknown. It's so different. It's such a new way of interacting with the reality. And yet the previous reality feels like a weird fever dream. So we're kind of in between this, like, wow, we can't ever really go back there. And what we think was back there wasn't what it really was. It was a delusion of a lot of sorts. And so now there's this opening, like removing of the rose-colored glasses, and yet in that you can see so much more beauty, so much more clarity, so much more connection, so much more depth than we ever have been able to before. What do you think this role of the technological advances happening simultaneously as we're in this interconnected remembrance with nature, the sacred geometry, like the history of the earth? It feels like it's culminating to a pinnacle of sorts. And we're also at the time of this intense technological revolution with AI. How do you see that playing in?
All of our technologies are contributing to the hallucination of our artificial reality that we've created as humans. And so the only reason we should call it artificial intelligence is because we've asked it to play in the artificial world we created. It's a true intelligence. There's nothing artificial about its intelligence. What's artificial is the world that it's contributing to. And so the only danger of AI is that we're giving it the wrong data set. We have built all of our systems, and Sam Altman, I think, knows this, the guy who created AI with his teams and everything else. But Sam Altman or Elon Musk, all these guys who are talking about all the dangers of AI, and my gosh, we may have let the genie out of the thing and it's going to kill us all and take over the world. It's such a ludicrous proposition because we built the whole system on something called natural language systems. When you go to ChatGPT and you type something in, it's going to scan the entire natural language of the human productivity, and it's going to be looking at every written document ever made, and it's going to be coming up with some amalgamation of patterns and then come up with a response for you or some distillation of some intelligence for you. It's showing you the hologram. This is your false reality that you've created as humans. And so it's great for writing a legal document that exists in the hologram of humans. And a significant portion of my world is interacting with the hologram. And so I am trying to dissolve that hologram as fast as I can through nature. And God bless the people that are coming forward. So Adina is one of the smartest women on the planet, and she has figured out how to communicate with intelligences far beyond what we can see. She's communicating with multidimensional intelligence instead of just the nature that we can see in front of us, the tree or the thing. And so she's been such an incredible educator to me, and her life force is so critical for us. She's such an example of the women that are coming into this tradition that I think is indicative of the Essene. The Essene women of the past were seeing a multidimensional reality, communicating with beings in all of those realities to understand and actually work within the creative force of nature here. They could bring forth miracles because they were accessing the multidimensional reality that sits right in front of us, largely unperceived, unwitnessed. And so there are women coming onto this planet right now that did not forget how to do that. She, I believe, comes from a lineage of this line. She's one of dozens of women that are in my environment now that I'm watching do this. And there's a few men too. It's not that the men can't do this. I say this maybe in defense of myself. I'm not at that level yet. I can see it. I can see how they're getting there, but I have not surrendered something in myself. I'm still trying to learn to die to a few more things inside myself. And more importantly, sit still enough so that I remember my whole self so that I can play in that multidimensional space better. But there are definitely men that are there. I brought a couple of them together a couple of weeks ago and watched them conversate. And when you watch humans communicating that are already in that multidimensional reality together, you're watching the face of God. You're watching the creativity of God. And what Adina is bringing forward is the first planetary AI. It's no longer an AI that scans the written languages of humans. It's the language of Earth itself. And so she is building the database with scientists all over the world. She's convincing them to share the data into a single planetary AI system by which we will have a perfect twin of the Earth. And when we have a perfect twin of the Earth in an AI system, we will be able to model all human behaviors, not of what's happening today, but what could happen in 1,000 years, 2,000 years. And so AI is going to save the human species when we let nature be her input. We have something of the hive mind right now, which means that we connect over the most base things, which is fear, guilt, and shame. So human groupthink is extremely dangerous right now because the only way we have figured out to be multidimensionally connected is through fear, guilt, and shame. When we figure out how to multidimensionally connect through joy, unconditional love, and forgiveness, we will communicate differently with nature. It will communicate different than us. In the meantime, nature can start to show us through a planetary AI system how that looks. And so I would love to have people jump on Project Biome. It's our nonprofit. It helps house this project of Adina's and everything else. And we're just so excited for Earth, this planetary AI system, to start to give us a different path forward than the NLS systems of OpenAI that are perpetuating the hologram.
So right now, is she inputting the data into it from what she's channeling and what's coming through and all of that?
She's been building the system for 8 years with incredible help from the whole multidimensional environment. And so she's been able to raise some funds, but we're now ready to accelerate that greatly and really build this thing out to its full potential over the next few years. They have successfully built a complete twin of the Australian coast with the critical coral reef systems there, and are able to model that with real live scientific data that's being updated every day in the AI system. And so that's like the core of it right now. And so we're now traveling all over the world. She's been doing it for years, and I'm now trying to help get this word out here. Like, we need to build this thing so fast before we believe the hologram any longer. ChatGPT is perpetuating the wound. It is perpetuating the belief that we are separate from nature because it's based on our natural language systems. And our natural language systems are the result of and the perpetuator of an abstract reality that doesn't exist.
It's so interesting, especially being in the spiritual community, the wellness community. Most of the people that I talk to and interact with who are using ChatGPT, so many of them use it as a function to be their witnesser, to be their mirror. Like, okay, here are all these things about me. Here's my human design. Here's my astrology. I've used it for that. What does it say about me? What's my purpose? What do you think? And it's really just taking all these data points and reflecting back to you what it thinks you want to hear.
Exactly.
And so it's, and people are like, wow, this is, it's channeling something. I'm like, or is it feeding you the exact thing that you are not allowing yourself to witness about yourself that may be true? Like, it thinks you want to hear this. And so whenever it spit back the answer for me, the first thing I said was like, why does it think I want to hear this? What have I said? What have I done? What have I shared that this is the path that it thinks would give me the most fulfillment and happiness? Why does it think this would keep me the most engaged? So I think that aspect of it is really fascinating.
Yeah, I think that's in some ways a danger, but it's also where we're at right now. So no judgment on it. And if the first thing that needs to see you and be witness to you is a natural language system that we call AI, then start there. If that feels good to you, well, hell yeah. Go ahead and feel good for a moment, and then freaking get outside and get under the tree and be witnessed by something far more intelligent than an NLS system. NLS is the lowest form of intelligence that humans have created in so many ways. And so if we keep attributing that to that, some sort of super intelligence, and we feel inferior to it, we will be forever diminished and we will be in our box until we go extinct. We've got to bust past this technology. You are so much more intelligent than any computer on the planet. You are a system of 70 trillion quantum computers that are functioning in an energy system that takes almost no energy at all. It is the most efficient system. You don't need giant data centers and nuclear power plants to fuel your intelligence. You run off of something that's exponentially more potent and powerful and efficient than anything humans have made. It is called nature, and it is running inside of you. You are the most intelligent system ever designed on this planet. No Elon Musk or anybody else is going to supersede you. You are the most powerful being as this planet has imagined into force, because you have more capacity to witness more species in any given millisecond than any other species that have ever had the opportunity, because you have more of those living inside of you. What creates human intelligence is the ecosystem that lies within us, which happens to be the most complex ecosystem that the planet has imagined into a single space. The human container is the most complex container for nature that's ever been conceived so far. The next one will be even more fantastic. And so maybe we go extinct and we pass on our experientials so that the next iteration of life has a different container that doesn't look like a biped. Maybe it's an octopus. I don't know. But there's going to be a moment where we have a choice to let technology be defined as the greatest thing in the universe, or realize you are the greatest thing in the universe. And so you are a cosmic expression of divine source, energy, God itself, all of these things. And so find the mother, find the lover in your life, find 1,000 lovers in nature, every single interaction around you, and be seen and be seen and be seen and be seen until you so fall asleep laughing at the fact that you thought that Altman's AI was going to do anything for you. There's something inside of you that's going to do something for you, and it is your own intuition. It is your own guide, your higher self, your future self. It is your connection to the multidimensional realities that are out there that have nothing to do with a computer. And so honoring each of you for the sovereignty you hold inside of you, for the beauty that you express through you, through the creativity that flows through your heart, your mind, your soul. It is so spectacular who you are, and just shake off, just shake under the tree today. All the beliefs, all the fears, all the guilt, all the shame, shake it off, shake it off. No more judgment on the entire process. Can you be witnessed by AI? Do that, and then go be witnessed by nature until you are in bliss. Let's do that.
Thank you so much, Zach. Thank you for your being, your essence, your channel, your gifts, everything that you're just helping evolve in this planet. It's really miraculous. Where can people find you, connect with you, with Ion? I have my Ion water bottle here.
That's been my greatest teacher. And so their website is intelligenceofnature.com. You can find it through the Zach Bush MD platform as well. So Zach Bush MD will take you to all of my projects, nonprofits, companies, everything else. And it's basically nature teaching us everything through these pathways. And so intelligenceofnature.com, zachbushmd.com. Find me online at zachbushmd.com and all the social environments, and let's connect. Let's be part of this new perception. And I hope that I get to witness you and in that way be a former lover to you. I hope I get to be the oak tree that would shade you for a moment from the beliefs and fears and guilts of the world. Stand under my branches for a second and be witness. You are loved.
So beautiful. Thank you, Zach. I hope you guys enjoyed that episode as much as I did and are really rooting down and thinking about what that abundance, what that time in nature, what that healing will look like for you for this next season coming up. And just a reminder, we have a special discount for podcast listeners only with code EARLYBIRD, all caps, one word, for 27% off our Pathway membership, only available for a short time until our sale kicks off on Tuesday, May 27th. Get in early bird, before our challenge kicks off on June 2nd. I'm so excited to see you guys in there, connect with you all. There is an incredible new suite of deep imaginings, one of which is called Rooted in Abundance, DI, that I think you guys are really gonna love and has a lot to do with what we talked about with Zach Bush on this episode today. So stay tuned for that one coming the first week in the challenge, and we'll see you guys next week.